His sister worked as a secretary in the military-industrial complex.
Jesus, that haunted fucking picture just fucking moved, man. Take that thing down now. Take that fucking haunted fucking African voodoo picture down, please. Jesus Christ, no. Put the goddamn thing. This is such bullshit. Fucking Jesus. I'm not in the mood to get scared like that. Dude, that thing came out and just faced me.
Paul smoked a little too much pot.
Yeah, but no, hey, listen, that's a pretty ugly stare, and then it just came off the Velcro and looked at me. That's fucked up. You can't say that's not fucked up.
That's fucking funny.
Oh my God.
Episode of Intellectual Dummies, our first conspiracy theory episode. We got Paul Nigro with us, our conspiracy theory our conspiracy theory expert.
Nice. Am I really?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
I mean, so
yeah,
far,
out of us, I'm definitely the one who looks into it the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And, as I've mentioned before, this podcast got started with a book club. So we're not just shooting from the hip here. We do our fucking research. Right now we'll mostly be referencing a book called Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon by David McGowan and a book called Chaos by Tom O'Neill. And it's about government mind control. And one thing I want to start off with is what a psyop is. Do you know what a psyop is?
Yeah, when something was meant to look like something, but it wasn't.
So, yeah, it's basically psychological warfare with propaganda that the government unleashes on their enemies, or even us. And now, I'm not sure if this is true, but I'm fairly certain that it's true. I didn't look this up. I learned it a long time ago that Obama allowed the weaponized propaganda that they use in other countries, like overthrow other countries and stuff like that. He was the first president to start using it on his citizens. So basically what a psyop is, the media will show you something that's emotionally triggering. And when you're emotionally triggered, when you're upset or angry or whatever it is, now you're not thinking critically. So it's almost like it's cracked into your psyche because you're mad. You think about your psyche being cracked, right? And then once it's cracked, then they'll start putting in the bullshit. Like, I think a good example is the insurrection. Violent insurrection, images of people breaking windows, police firing tear gas. And that's all you hear is violent insurrection. Violent insurrection. It's just images, and you hear violent insurrection and it triggers an emotional response, especially when it's happening in real time. And when you see these images that just look horrible, obviously selectively edited, but that's the kind of psychological warfare that they're playing.
Yeah, but even on speaking points, something like common sense gun law, everyone goes, yeah, common sense gun law, common sense gun law.
Exactly.
Who doesn't want a common sense gun law? But they don't know what they're talking about.
Exactly. That really goes for really
everything.
Really everything, because common sense gun law makes you feel like, well, your subconscious says, well, I have to agree because I don't want to be the guy that's not common sense. That's what you immediately go to, and your psyche's cracked, and you lose that ability to critically think. Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, that's another one.
Women's right to choose.
Yeah.
It's all
women's rights,
all meant to crack your psyche and feed that bullshit into the cracks.
I trust the science.
Yeah.
How many people said that in the last 5 years? I trust the science.
I feel like you're mildly trying to bait me into
I get it. That's the thing. We can go very deep, but I'm not going to.
Another episode.
No, this whole ride here, I was like, I'm just gonna be with Lucas and scratch along the surface.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go deeper.
But no, it's absolutely true. And that's what they do. And what we're going to be talking about today, I think, was the beginning stages, not only of that, but also literally trying to control people's minds through drugs, which is insane. Which brings me to my next point, is that, the whole hippie movement. Now, we got some new age hippies. They're out there. You see them at the concerts with their tie-dyes and stuff like the free love. And, the people that are like, I was born in the wrong decade. I should have been born in the 60s and 70s. I'm counterculture.
I wish I could date somebody like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I could choose, I'd want my next girlfriend to be like a professional tarot card reader. Or like a professional psychic.
Really?
Yeah, why not?
Wow, that's
I've never dated
the worst thing I've ever heard.
I've never dated anybody like that before. Why not give somebody like that a try?
Yeah, I mean, I have, and
you did?
Yeah.
What did they do?
We used to get together. I won't name any names, but I'm sure you could put it together. But we used to get together and do tarot cards and pendulum swing. When I was in the Zodiac, when I was a hippie. You remember when I was a hippie wearing like drug rugs and long hair and...
No, I don't remember that.
No, what the fuck are you talking
long hair
we're going to move on
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Long hair and drug rugs. I don't know. Must not have been around.
But anyways, that culture, which was born out of the 60s and 70s, it's the counterculture, the anti-establishment. But what we're going to be talking about today is, if you adhere to those values, we're going to be talking about how your life is a lie, how your values are a lie, how you're not counterculture, you're cog in the machine, and you're a useful idiot. And that's going to be the bulk of what we're talking about today. Now, you recommended the book Weird Scenes in the Canyon.
And Chaos.
And Chaos.
I just never listened to Chaos, but we talked about it. I'm like, I think there was a guy on Rogan who did a book called Chaos about this very subject.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. It was very good. I've definitely taken extensive notes because both of those books have a shitload of information that all tie into all the other information like a puzzle. And this was an episode that I didn't want to shoot from the hip from. Right? So the basic premise is that rewind to the 1960s, Vietnam happens. We got the Gulf of Tonkin set us into warfare with the Vietnam. And the government had a good idea. I don't know. I suppose it depends on how you want to think about it.
A lot of times, like when I think about from the other point of view, I think if I was part of the CIA, I'd probably be doing this too.
You know what? They thought
I'd be like, listen, guys, we have we have to go to war in Vietnam, or else we're not going to become billionaires. What do? Well, let's make this youth anti fucking war movement look stupid.
Yeah,
I'm in. Good idea, Tim.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah, because what looks worse when they're doing the psyop on the media, on the news? What triggers more of an emotional response? So you have everyday people dressed up nice, protesting. You're more inclined to be with them because they look like you. They act like you. These are well-dressed students, professors, things of that nature. Or, and we're talking about, you're trying to convince the average day person to think like you. You got the average day person thinking like you, looking like that, how I just described. Or would the average day person be more inclined to agree with someone with long hair who's practicing promiscuous sex with multiple people, drug abuse, dressing like shit, not wearing shoes, dirty, tie-dye?
Have you ever seen the videos of the anti-war protesters before the hippie movement? Because I've seen a documentary, this whole Laurel Canyon and CIA stuff. I've watched documentaries and things too. And the anti-war movement before the hippie movement was a bunch of college kids dressed like fucking Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah. Shirts and ties tucked in, and they had books in their hands.
Yeah, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it was
and what did it turn into?
Drug addicts.
Signs and Yeah. So it's like the average day person. Who are you going to relate to the most? You're going to relate to the clean guy protesting. But once the media stopped reporting on that, and they started reporting this big hippie movement, that was a giant psyop that they created to get the average person to be anti-hippie and agree with the war. It didn't work. So this is about how the CIA, through music, culture, television, actors, musicians, things of that nature, basically we're all government, I don't want to call them government agents, but maybe they were.
What do
you
some
think?
of them might not have known that. I don't know, I watched a documentary where they talk about that a lot of these people, they just tell them, you're going to be the mega star that you think you're going to be, but we're in your music videos, we are going to put this symbolism in there, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're going to be our poster child for our thing.
Yeah.
So, because there's a lot of updated documentaries you can watch about the music and movies now, too.
Yeah.
And, I think the people who become the mega stars, they're mega stars because they're willing to play along, and the ones who don't are the ones who don't play along.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the Katy Perry, whoever's popular now, Katy Perry, whatever that other chick's name is, Kevin Hart, those people do not become that famous without knowing what's up and knowing that they're going to play, people know they're going to play ball.
No, absolutely. Hollywood, what do they call them? Hollywood transplants or something? Or when Hollywood kind of pretends this guy came out of nowhere, but he really didn't come out of nowhere.
Couldn't come out of nowhere.
I forget what the word is, but they really didn't come out of nowhere. They were a Hollywood plant.
A Hollywood plant, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what people were saying the Hawk Tuah girl was.
Yeah, well, hey, maybe, but all this 70s music, Jimi Hendrix, we'll be talking about, Jim Morrison, John Phillips from the Mamas and the Papas, and Cass Elliot, who was the mama in the Mama.
Yeah, in the Mamas and the Papas. Yeah, Mama
Frank
Cass.
Zappa, Stephen Stills, Dave Crosby, Jackson Brown, the band America, the Monkees.
Dude.
The list fucking goes on.
You know what's funny? I'm glad you brought up the Monkees because I was even going to bring it up. As a kid, I grew up watching the Monkees in the afternoon. They would play the reruns. And you don't think about it then, but when you look back, or when I watch these documentaries, they had, they'd be going into a house and there'd just be a sign on the yard that says, "Keep off the grass."
Yeah.
Which was their way of being they're trying to tell us to keep off the grass, so they kept doing the grass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A double standard or whatever it's called. But the Monkees was nothing but friggin' CIA.
Yeah.
They were, from what I heard, the Monkees got as big as they were because people weren't focusing on the war. Yeah. And they just kept pushing the Monkees.
Yeah.
They were just clean. Nobody was talking about fucking war. And that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool you brought up the Monkees because they're totally
like I said, dude, this episode I had to take notes because there's too many coincidences that just fit together so perfect. There's no way, in my opinion, that this isn't fucking true. That all of the people that I just listed, plus a lot more. The list is too long for me. If I just read all the people and all these weird deaths and all these connections, we'd be here for 3 hours.
Oh, yeah. And you're only doing the CIA and music and entertainment.
Yeah, I didn't even touch the actors.
Go down the rabbit hole of the Illuminati and the CIA and the fucking... Yeah. That's even worse.
Yeah, I think all the people that I just named, they're all Hollywood plants to push this hippie anti-war propaganda to get the average person to look at these dirty people being fucking anti-war. I'm pro-war. That's what their subconscious is telling you. I can't agree with these people. They don't agree with my values because look at them. They're dirty,
I think they did that to make that newer generation of voters stupid.
Well, maybe that too.
I feel and I, don't mean to bring race into this, but when I see those, Ice Spice, when I see her, I feel like she's put there to make young black girls trash.
Yeah.
Purposely.
No, I completely
You know what I'm saying?
agree.
And I think that's why
Cardi B.
Yeah, any of those chicks that are pro like stripper and clapping their butt cheeks, they're there to make your daughters whores.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. That's white or black.
Because how do you crack it? I mean, with the music back then, you crack the psyche through good music. Good music.
Lyrics,
right?
Good lyrics.
And then the lyric, if something makes you move, then you start listening to the message, and now it's the message that's making you move.
So true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, Cardi B, she's got some good beats, followed by absolutely despicable lyrics.
I've never listened to anything she's ever had, but every picture I've seen of her, she's never been fully clothed, or she just dresses like a stripper. Yeah. Attractive black woman.
Yeah.
Is she not?
Yeah.
She is.
She is.
But her attitude is unattractive.
Yeah, absolutely.
But she's put there to, like, I've always felt that way. Even with, like, gangster rap, I feel like that was put there to make that younger generation think being a gangster was cool.
It's cool and act like
and it's
that.
not cool.
And dress like that.
Pushing drugs, I think, like, those are all psyops.
Oh, absolutely. Because you think about, too, like, the average black person in the 1960s, how they dressed and how they acted.
In the music.
And I'm not saying that, like, they act worse now, but as far as the psyop goes, when you think about the average black person, your mind does kind of go to, like, oh, I don't know what, baggy clothes, kind of sagging, not talking.
Well, even in the 80s, there was rap music, but it was different. It wasn't but once they got to gangster rap, that's when I feel like it was like they were pushing like it's a cool to have your gun 90s, and fucking
Yeah, no, absolutely.
They definitely started that then.
Yeah, I mean Taylor Swift, they probably got people to just be liberals. I mean, she just endorsed Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Well,
she did that because she plays ball. That's why she's the mega star she is.
That's why she's a billionaire.
Yeah, I know.
They don't let people get to that level. They'll try and cancel you. They'll try and ruin you like Joe Rogan and many others.
Or you'll just get to or you'll just get to a certain level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like the band Weezer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm sure they got an offer at some point in their careers to play ball, and your guys' music is going to be the best. And they're like, no, we ain't trying to play ball like that.
Yeah, and they kind of faded off into...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think all of these people that I named, they all played ball. So let's get into some of these coincidences, and I might be talking a lot, but
no, I like
it's
this.
Fucking
I like coincidences.
Yeah.
Okay, just say real fast, just so everyone knows. These people all have connections to Laurel Canyon in California.
Yeah, exactly.
They all come from the same place in California.
All of these people went to the same place. All these musicians went to the same place, Laurel Canyon in LA County, when LA didn't even have a music scene.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, maybe they all went to LA County.
Yeah, because they wanted to be
whatever. But they all happened to go to the same neighborhood in LA County, coincidentally, and they all got famous. It doesn't add up.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Okay, so Jim Morrison, son of Steve Morrison, was the captain on the ship that was involved in the Gulf of Tonkin incident that ended up being a false flag attack that propelled us into Vietnam. Went to high school with the Mamas and the Papas, John Phillips and Cass Elliot. Okay, maybe they were just...
they could, they grew up in the same town. There's nothing wrong with that.
Jim Morrison's manager was a U.S. Marine participating in the overthrow of the government in the Congo by giving them weapons and stuff like that. That was his manager.
Wow.
Right? John Phillips, the Papa in the Mamas and the Papas, his dad was a U.S. Marine, military intelligence. His name was Claude Andrew Phillips. His sister worked as a secretary in the military industrial complex.
Jesus, that haunted fucking picture just fucking moved, man. Take that thing down now. Take that fucking haunted fucking African voodoo picture down, please. Jesus Christ, no. Put the goddamn thing. This is such bullshit. Fucking Jesus. I'm not in the mood to get scared like that. Dude, that thing came out and just faced me.
Paul smoked a little too much pot.
Yeah, but no, hey, listen, that's a pretty ugly stare, and then it just came off the Velcro and looked at me, that's fucked up. You can't say that's not fucked up.
That's fucking funny.
Oh my God.
Okay, so his name was Claude Andrew Phillips. His sister worked as a secretary in the military-industrial complex. Brother was a battle-hardened veteran. John Phillips also just so happened to be in Cuba during the Cuban Revolution, allegedly to help the revolution or whatever, do some hippie shit over there, like, oh yeah,
protest and help.
No, that's bull. When your whole family's in the military-industrial complex, that's not why you were over there. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Frank Zappa, son of a chemical weapons specialist. It's weird that all their parents were in some type of military intelligence or chemical warfare specialist. Deeply entrenched in the MK Ultra experiments. He grew up on a military base. His wife, Gail, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I'm going to try. I'm going to butcher it, though. Slootman. Her dad was a nuclear weapons researcher. She worked on a military base for the military intelligence. Went to kindergarten with Jim Morrison. Stephen Stills, founding member of the Buffalo Springfield, and the Crosby, Stills and Nash band. After he came out with his single, For What It's Worth, it was followed by another single called Bluebird. And Bluebird was the code name that the CIA used for MK Ultra. His father was in the military, weird, and helped overthrow governments in Central and South America. David Crosby, son of a World War II military intelligence officer, Floyd Crosby. Floyd, after he got out of the military, decided, he would travel the world and stuff. Just happened to end up in Haiti during the U.S. occupation in 1927. One of the Marines doing the occupation was John Phillips's father, Claude Andrew Phillips. All these people are so intermingled, it's ridiculous. The Crosby family has deep ties going back over 250 years of senators, congressmen, judges, Supreme Court officials, mayors, Revolutionary and Civil War generals, members of the Continental Congress, signers of the Declaration of Independence, direct descendant of Alexander Hamilton and John Jay, who was a founding father. Does that guy sound anti-establishment? Jackson Brown, another musician. Father was part of the OSS, a precursor to the CIA. Played a role in the reconstruction of Germany after Nazi Germany fell, and he was born in Germany. Everybody in the band, America, had families working in the military-industrial complex. This is where I'm kind of just like, there's so much information now, I'm kind of keeping it short. The Monkees as well, I think it was all Air Force or something like that. All of these musicians coincidentally went to LA when LA did not have a music scene, coincidentally also in the same neighborhood. And there's so many other examples too. That was just a few. The list goes on, and in this book, Strange Scenes in the Canyon, there's just entire chapters of these connections, right? Not only that, a lot of these people too, I didn't have time to make this list because it's just so extensive and so many names. Names like Jack Nicholson, Marlon Brando. Well,
that's when you get into the actors.
Sharon Tate. Yep. All of these people were either brutally murdered. Spielberg, Roman Polanski. Yep. All of these people were either murdered or just had people all around them that were getting murdered. Now, one statistic too that blew my mind was the murder rate in America, I think they said was like about 1 in 350,000 people get murdered. In Laurel Canyon, if you were a celebrity, the statistic was there's a 1 in 4 chance you were getting murdered.
Really?
Insane. So something was going on there that was absolutely nefarious. And it's weird because you have this whole hippie movement that's peace and love and blah, 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 and everyone's just getting fucking murdered left and right. Insane. And Charles Manson fits into all this too. He hung in with these crowds. He auditioned for Neil Young. He was in this area, hanging out, going to these parties, doing acid with these people. This is crazy too. I gotta bring this up. Jack Nicholson. was part of a hippie group called the Young Turks, right?
The Young Turks?
Yeah, it's a coincidence.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
But everybody in the Young Turks, again, family had a military background, right? Jack Nicholson, nobody knows where the fuck that guy came from. Doesn't have a birth certificate. Was born in like a some type of fucking like home or something. He was the son of like a showgirl. Was raised by the grandparents.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a
Here's the thing.
birth certificate.
The thing too, like in maybe once like we do this subject, we can go on to another one. But this is where when I get into like satanic cults and stuff like that intertwined in the media. This is where you hear stories about someone like a Jack Nicholson who no one knows where he came from because he was probably part of one of these cults as a child. They get abused, they grow up, and they put him out as famous actors, famous whatever, in our news, famous news anchors.
Yeah.
And they just play ball.
Yeah, like Anderson Cooper.
Yeah, like Anderson fucking Cooper.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't going to say it because I didn't know how far you wanted to go.
No, I mean, we won't get too far into that, but look into that dude's history, and it's pretty fucking dark and fucked up.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Another thing you missed, too, is, or if you haven't gotten to it yet, but when a lot of those musicians died, one of those other musicians on that list would get the rights to their music.
Yeah.
Automatically. Like Frank Zappa had like a lot of rights to other bands after they died.
Yeah.
Like the rights just went to him.
Yeah, Frank Zappa was also his residence was the lodge where he would host a bunch of new coming musicians coming in. And I think it was when the Rolling Stones, they didn't spend a lot of time in Laurel Canyon, but they did go over there. They're saying stuff like, oh yeah, everyone dabbled in a little bit of Satanism and stuff like that. And it's like, what the fuck?
They definitely did fucking... When you get into that, especially with Aleister Crowley, on one of the Beatles album covers, there's a little sign in the back that says, accept the Stones.
Yeah.
And they're talking about that being a subliminal message as the Rolling Stones are going to be the next Beatles.
Oh, yeah.
Like, accept the Stones.
Oh, I see. That's interesting.
Yeah, when you get into the Beatles album covers... There's a lot of hidden messaging in there.
I don't doubt it for a second. It's the psyop.
It's all the psyop, yeah.
It's the fucking psyop.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's all the psyop, dude.
So, I don't care what anybody says. There's too many coincidences here. They're all in these weird military families, growing up in military bases, military intelligence. They're all Hollywood plants. They're all government plants to affect the culture. That's what they're doing, right? Now, get this, right? Charles Manson's running in these circles. Audition for Neil Young, I did that. Neil Young's parole officer, a guy named Roger Smith, right? Roger Smith was a parole officer, but was also part of a federally funded program by the CIA in researching LSD among the population of San Francisco. So ask yourself, why the fuck is that guy a parole officer? Right? And this guy... researching LSD now has resources where he has a bunch of degenerates going to him, Charles Manson being an example. He can experiment on those people. Where did a homeless bum, Charles Manson, who had at the time been in prison most of his life, get all the acid to give to his family? You know, what's this guy doing? And how come Charles Manson kept getting away with all these crimes? Or these crimes aren't being reported, or, you know, he keeps getting off.
Well, even like him and his family like lived at some old abandoned studio that everyone knew like they were there.
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest raid in LA history was that place.
Really?
And didn't get arrested. It was bungled. I think it was something stupid like they didn't write the fucking right date on the raid. It was supposed to be on like a Wednesday, and it was a Tuesday. I'm like, oh, I guess we're all going home.
Yeah.
You know?
He technically didn't kill anybody.
He didn't. He absolutely didn't. You know? But his parole officer, who was researching acid, was part of this clinic with another guy called David Smith, no relation. This clinic was set up like a hippie lounge. You know, imagine walking into a place, you fucking open the curtain, and there's just a bunch of people smoking pot. Hey, man, peace and love. And then you go upstairs, and you got the guys in white lab coats fucking handing out acid to everybody. And it's speculated that's where Manson was getting his acid from. Now it gets even more fucked up. And they're using this acid as a way, I think in the beginning, obviously I don't think they use acid anymore. The propaganda's gotten so good that they figured it out. To crack the psyche.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
That's why they're
they also used it, I forget when it was, but they would give it to, like, spies, Russian spies they would capture to make them tell the truth about shit.
Yeah, like a truth serum.
Like, they ended up finding out that a lot of tanks that they're seeing through satellites, they didn't even have engines in them. Yeah. They were just there for show. And the reason that guy squealed was because they gave him a fucking glass of acid to drink. And he just started tripping balls, and I think he might have even jumped out a window. Yeah. But that's what they were doing it for at first, was to get the truth out of spies. Yeah, and they were unknowingly, like, dosing people and shit. Yeah, yeah. And people were, like, committing suicide. There was somebody who tried to sue because that's what happened. Like, their dad, I guess, was part of one of the tests where he drank something. Later that night, tripped balls and just jumped out his balcony and died.
Yeah. I remember that. I read that. I remember reading that in Chaos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So... And this is where it gets a little deeper. This clinic, it was on Haight-Ashbury, which is hippie central. You know, if you know Haight-Ashbury.
I've heard of it.
By the way, Jimi Hendrix went to the military, got released under like weird circumstances, and became a famous musician. But anyways, I digress. Another one of the researchers, his name was Louis Jolly West, right? This dude ran a clandestine study about LSD and drug use among the hippies. He was a CIA psychologist with a background in deprogramming victims of brainwashing. West refitted a dilapidated Victorian home near Haight-Ashbury, that was the clinic, and made it a fake hippie crash pad, which was what I just described, right? Mm. He worked for the CIA, and he worked for a guy named Sidney, I'm gonna destroy this guy's last name. Gottlieb, head of the MK Ultra program. Crazy connection right there. Under Gottlieb's watch, the CIA administered LSD to unwitting subjects, attempted to synthesize the ultimate truth serum, and pursued quintotoxic research into creating the perfect assassin and implanting false memories. So that's where this clinic comes from. Hmm. It was meant for the anti-war, the hippie movement and stuff, all those plants that we had just talked about. But then you start thinking to yourself, like, presidential assassinations of that time. What's his name there? I remember I was joking. I was like, is his name Duran Duran?
No, Hans Hajir or something.
Yeah, no.
It was Hanshir?
Something like that.
What the fuck? Dude, I'm close, though.
Sirhan.
Sirhan. Okay.
Duran.
Yeah. No, Hanjir.
Jihad.
Yeah.
No, all right, that was
no,
racist.
it was Jihad. No, I was kidding. That's his middle name.
But he didn't remember anything.
Yeah. I saw a whole documentary on that guy, and he said the last thing he remembered, because he was there to see Kennedy speak, he claims, but the last thing he remembers is somebody asking for sugar in their coffee, like some attractive woman, and then he came to everybody on top of him. Yeah. And they think that could have been the trigger to make him fucking sugar in the coffee. Yeah. You know, because it could be other CIA plants there to trigger him. Yeah. You know, somebody selling the coffee, the attractive woman. Yeah. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, it could have been, I mean...
But you know what they labeled him as? The first Arab terrorist. They label him as the first Arab American terrorist attack on, like, American soil. Yeah. And when you hear that, you go, good. Yeah. Put him in jail.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's the psyop.
Yeah.
That's emotionally triggering event. Assassination.
Yeah.
Oh, Arab terrorists. You know, fill those cracks with Arab terrorists.
Yeah, because even when I watched the documentary, it was on, like, you know, the Discovery Channel. So at the end, it made it clear that, no, he's just an Arab terrorist. Like, they didn't go, oh, maybe he was. There was just, they were showing interviews where he was claiming he doesn't remember anything. Yeah. But then it's like, well, he probably was just fucking Manchurian Candidate, right? Yeah. Is that what it is? What's the Manchurian Candidate? Is that the mind control president?
I don't know. I never saw the movie.
I think it's where the president's under mind control from another country.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, then you think about just all the assassinations that were happening back then. Mm-hmm. JFK, his brother, MLK,
That's an attempt on Reagan, too.
Reagan, John Lennon.
Yep, Lennon.
For a hippie, John Lennon was actually like a huge asshole. But then again, a lot of these guys were described... Jim Morrison, Frank Zappa, they were all described as like kind of authoritarian in nature.
Well, because they probably came from military households.
Well, exactly, and even John Phillips and the Mamas and the Papas was known to kind of have a bad attitude and was known to carry a weapon, and people have reported seeing him fire that weapon at people for being... Does that sound like a peace-loving hippie?
I think it was Mama Cass's father. He was like part of the Beach Boys. Remember the Beach Boys?
Yeah.
He used to take acid, and he would have a grand piano. He would take acid, and he had them dump sand all around his piano, and that's how he made music.
Oh, really?
He pretended he was on the beach with his piano.
Oh, wow.
Just took acid and came up with all these riffs.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
That's crazy.
But her father was also a famous musician, too.
Wow. Sharon Tate's father also, like, some type of military background there. But, yeah, it's crazy because, learning about all this stuff and this psyop and the brainwashing, and I'm just thinking about today, applying those same principles to today with what we talked about earlier, like this violent insurrection. Meanwhile, when you really look for it, you just see people there's people like peacefully walking through the hallways and the cops are like, come right this way. But the media doesn't show that because it doesn't fit the psyop, and people need to be very careful. Realizing you're in an emotional state where you can't critically think, like they say, don't make a decision when you're emotional or angry.
Yeah, sleep on it. Sleep on it's a real thing.
Sleep on it is a real thing because you're not capable of making a logical decision when you're emotionally triggered in any way, whether you're too happy or too sad.
Yeah.
You're not capable. You just really need to fucking just take it easy for a second and think. Critically think.
Now, what do you say to someone like yourself who likes to post things that emotionally trigger people?
That's a good question. So I guess I would be the one kind of psyoping other people.
Yeah.
Maybe it's gotten to the degree where they've gotten us to try and psyop each other.
Yeah, like divide and conquer.
Yeah.
That's what...
Here's these late-term abortions. Here's the videos.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what they made politics as. It's your team and my team, and it's about who's right and who's wrong. You have a video that shows you're right, I have a video that I show I'm right. We fight all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the weaponized propaganda.
Yeah, because as you were saying this, I'm like, well, Lucas does post a lot of triggering stuff.
I absolutely do. I'm sure the listeners see it.
Like you definitely do.
Yeah, no, I absolutely do. I used to do it all the time. I've gotten good about it, but since this election came, I kicked it up a notch. I'm not gonna lie, because obviously I gotta.
For me, it's just our cousin Tommy. Like when I post a political story, I look to see if he saw it, and when it does, I just go.
You put a cousin Tommy.
I gotcha, gotcha, cousin Tommy. I'm glad you saw that, cousin Tommy.
Yeah,
dude, I just laugh to myself and I go to sleep like this. I'm like,
it's funny. I do the same thing with certain people. I'm not gonna name any names, but I'll see people that have seen my story. I'll be like, I'll just whisper to myself like, "Yeah, fuck you." Gotcha.
I'm glad. Have fun sleeping tonight.
Yeah.
Hope you saw that right before bed.
Yeah. I hope you're fucking texting all your friends. You're just such a piece of shit.
That's so funny. But yeah, so you're kind of like psyoping too.
Yeah, you know what? I'll give you that. I'll definitely concede that. Because, I mean, now that I'm thinking about the situation, like I said, the propaganda's probably gotten so good that when they got the citizens doing it to each other through social media.
Yeah.
But at the same time...
See, you're just getting a little deeper right now.
Yeah, but at the same time, and maybe this is just me falling for it more, I feel like what I'm posting is objectively true.
But you know it's going to piss people off.
Yeah, I'm cracking their psyche. I'm trying to... Here's the thing is, I'm trying to crack their psyche and fill it in with things that I think are true and facts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I suppose we're all trying to kind of brainwash each other to an extent.
In a way.
You know?
No way.
You know, it's all about cracking that psyche. You know?
Well, even when you look at Instagram and people taking selfies with smiles on their faces, like, you're looking at it and everyone's life looks like more exciting than yours when it's not.
Yeah.
But it makes you go, oh, well, I need to have an exciting life. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It triggers you.
Or it makes you depressed. And you're like, how come
or it makes you depressed. Or how come,
out, you know?
How come I'm not taking selfies on the water? Yeah. You know, like.
Well, shit, I remember one time, and again, won't name any names, but we used to drink at the Fours all the time. And we were with some girls, and one of the girls was like, we're at the, you know, like, and then when I looked at her story, it just looked like we were having such a great time. Yeah,
it does.
Right? But at the same time, we were the only people at the Forest. Maybe there was a couple old towny booze bags on the other end. But the rest, all the guys were just like this. And the girl's like,
yeah, that's all they have to do. Yeah. That's all they have to do.
You know?
It's unreal. Yeah, no, I remember watching a funny one where this chick was in a living room like, blah, 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 and just behind her was like 3 people standing there like, whatever, like there was no party.
Yeah.
But on her point of view, it looked like she was at this big party.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, it's all about the angles and stuff. Yeah. I mean, you see that all the time with like crowd sizes.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, Joe Biden, I know they did that with his crowd sizes. They were like pointing the camera low. You see all these people like reaching over each other's shoulders, like, because I mean, they just pointed the camera low so that people had to kind of, you know, but meanwhile there's only like 50 people there.
Well, it wasn't until I went to my first like WWE event that wasn't sold out, and where I realized, oh, they stacked the audience on one side of the TV to go up the ramp, because their hard cameras on the other side, so no matter what, it looks like a full house, even when it's not.
Yeah.
Like, if it's like, you know, like, say, like, the top bleachers aren't filled, they'll, like, fill this side in and put them on that side.
Yeah.
And then that side will be a little lower, but it doesn't matter because the hard cam's on that side facing that way.
Yeah.
You know, like, it wasn't until I saw that and then I heard other people talking about how they shoot that where I'm like, oh. And then when they did it on Kamala Harris's, the DNC, they did the same thing.
Yeah.
They made that audience look a lot bigger than what it was because they just filled everything tight.
Yeah.
And they filmed everything tight.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's deceiving. It makes you think that there's a huge audience to support her when there wasn't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Now, talk about like cracking people's psyche and stuff like that. After everything that we've talked about, the next time I meet a hippie, I can't wait to fucking tell them.
What?
That their life is a lie.
That their life is a lie?
You're not anti-establishment.
So you're not trying to be friends with these people right off the bat?
Hippies?
Yeah.
No, not really.
No, I just don't understand that, like, hey, this is my friend Tim. Tim's clearly hippie, and you're like, hi, I'm Luke. Your whole life is a lie? Like, what are you talking about? I can't wait to tell them the whole life is a lie. Like, what are you talking about?
Oh, you like David Crosby, huh? Wow.
You know, I also heard David Crosby was an abusive father to his children. One kid ended up committing suicide, becoming a drug addict and committing suicide.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there was some documentary like He's My Father or something like that. Yeah,
well, you get that with a lot of these guys too, is, John Lennon, woman abuser. Mm-hmm. You know, like I said, John Phillips shooting his gun at people.
Woman abuser almost kind of give a pass during that period of time. Because back then, they didn't see a problem with backhanding a woman.
Yeah.
Like, there's that interview with Sean Connery. Like, sometimes you just, you know, she won't stop. You've already agreed with her, so you just gotta give her a smack.
Yeah.
And the woman reporter was like, you actually smack. He's like, oh, smack her on the, you know, like.
Yeah.
That was that was a thing back then.
That's
so
true.
Woman abuser, was he punching her in her mouth a bunch of times, or did he give her a backhand?
Yeah.
Even though it's wrong in 2024. But back then it wasn't. Yeah.
Back then it wasn't, and the further you go back in time, the more acceptable it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really gotta look through. You gotta look at things through the lens of that time and not through the glasses of today.
Of course.
You know?
Just when you say woman abuser, like, I mean, what did he do?
Yeah.
What did he do? You know.
But it's funny because just to reiterate, a lot of these people don't have the personality of this free, fun-loving, hippie persona that we think that they all have.
Yeah.
You know?
That even goes just to today too. Okay, so we talk about this Laurel Canyon scene that was that whole hippie movement with music. Well, let's look at another generation and genre of music real fast. That whole grunge movement that came out of Seattle. Seattle, Washington. Guess how many people in grunge bands have connections to the government in Washington?
Really?
Same exact thing.
Really?
Yeah, it's the same thing when you can connect the dots. Everyone's got ties to fucking Washington.
Wow.
Yes, and that Seattle grunge movement was humongous.
Wow.
That changed the generation of the 80s hair bands into long hair, and we're all depressed.
Yeah.
And we're all wearing shitty clothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
we all look like homeless bums.
Yeah.
You know?
It's cool, though.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Be passive.
Yeah. And that was in the 90s. What they do on the black side. That's when they started gangster rap.
Yeah.
You know? So you had a generation of kids that were kind of like thinking slumming it was cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's true. That's absolutely true. One thing I thought was interesting that was in the book was that they were allegedly like brainwashing people. They got really good at it. And when the guy went out to his hippie cult, he was the socialist, arguing for all these, socialist values and stuff like that, all this hippie stuff. And then when he would like report back, it's like his psyche would just change.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had him like in a trance that would just flip back and forth depending on the thing. And I mean, think about that's the perfect assassin right there.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
And shit, who knows what they're capable of now?
You ever see the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats?
Yeah.
They made a joke of that, but that was real.
That's kind of what we're talking about.
And that's kind of what we're talking about. Yeah, like they did that to make a joke of it, to make it seem like, oh, that stuff's not real, but that was real. Yeah. That mind control program was real.
I think Annie Jacobson, I don't know if you're familiar with that officer, she has a book called Phenomenon where she kind of goes and describes some of these programs where people were just like basically trying to train people to be psychic.
Yeah.
And it's all real stuff. It's taxpayer funded stuff. Yeah. And it's
even
just people like guessing cards.
Yeah, no, in Stephen King's movie Firestarter, that's how they found out the girl was a fire starter, because they were doing tests and her father had psychic abilities and the mother had psychic abilities. So then the government went after the daughter because they knew she had psychic abilities and she was on the run. But they did it by testing hippies, paying them to conduct tests to them.
Yeah.
And that's how they found out the parents were psychic.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and they just put that in a movie and fucking, we all see it and we go, oh, okay. But that's like all really happened.
That's crazy. I gotta watch that movie. Watch
the Stephen King version. Yeah. Don't watch the newest one.
Okay.
They made a remake. The Stephen King version's what's up.
Yeah. Now, just to open up this rabbit hole, let's get a little into the rabbit hole.
I'm ready. I'm on the rabbit. Let's go.
Is maybe all humans are capable of this stuff, and what the government is trying to do is rediscover this knowledge that has been suppressed or forgotten about, or maybe intentionally written out of history. Because if only a few people have it, they're the most powerful people. But if everybody has it, it levels the playing field.
Of course. Look at the third eye. What's that called?
Yeah, the pineal gland.
The pineal gland.
Yeah.
I have a good book called DMT, the pineal gland, and it was written by the guy who used to do DMT research in the 60s and 70s before they made it illegal. And they were coming through a lot of breakthroughs, like people seeing other dimensions and seeing other gods. And one day the government just passed a law, no more DMT fucking tests.
Wow.
Why'd they stop that?
Yeah, and that Annie Jacobson book, I think they were talking about, they were trying to map out the DMT realm.
Yeah.
If they're trying to map it out, that almost tells you that it's not an abstract place and it's actually real.
It makes me believe like more in dimensions than anything. Like I told you before, like I believe where we were before we were born is a dimension, where we are right now is a dimension, and the dimension after this is either where we were before we were born or a new dimension.
Yeah.
The Tibetan Book of the Dead says we go back to where we were before we were born, and if we had a good life, we get to choose what we want to do again. Yeah. Like we keep going back into this life, and the better person we are, the better options we have to be like, yo, I want to be the president's kid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so who knows? Maybe that's it. But I definitely believe in dimensions.
Yeah. Oh, so just to reel us back a little bit, one of the things the government did with these musicians, actors, I mean, even entertainers like Houdini, was whenever they needed them to go to a place to do whatever they needed to do, their mission, they would just be like, oh, all right, Houdini's going to play a show in New York. And they say that Houdini died from getting punched in the gut, but the coroner's report said that was impossible.
Oh, I don't know.
And he actually got poisoned. His wife got poisoned too, but she lived. But he was allegedly some type of government agent that was doing shit. And his magic show was really just a ploy to get him to just go around the country and do things. Really? Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, during that period of time, he could do that.
Yeah.
There'd be a crime, and nobody knew anything, so they'd be like, well, it wasn't Houdini, he had a show going on.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They were just, okay, it wasn't Houdini.
Dude, now just imagine a government spy that's also a magician.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, he's just gonna fucking throw down a thing and smoke.
Yeah,
he's out of here.
All the government's files are in that lock safe over there, and Houdini's like, okay.
Yeah, lock safe. Yeah.
Fucking spins the dial. Fucking opens it immediately. Oh shit.
Yeah.
You know.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that about
Houdini.
Houdini.
Where's the key? Hold on a sec. You know.
Yeah, I know he starts pulling it out by a fucking...
Yeah, by a string. Yeah. Yeah. All right, we're on a mission. You don't have to make it a show.
Yeah, I know. Listen, pull it out, Houdini. He's like, they're like, dude, fucking, come on, get it out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this is the 5th key we've seen you pull out of your throat today. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah, right. Is it this one? Come on, dude. We know it's an act.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, he's flipping them all around.
They're fucking pulling to the driveway, dude. Fucking hurry up.
Yeah, he was probably such a bitch to do a heist with. He's fucking around the car won't start. Make it start, man. He's ooh.
Fuck, where'd we put the keys? He's I don't know. Where did you put the keys? Did you check behind your ears?
Or you take your keys, out, and it's just that bunch of handkerchiefs together. You're like, where the fuck are my keys? You get caught because you're fucking just pulling different handkerchiefs out of your fucking pocket.
You know, he's fucking getting searched by the cops, and they're just let's check your pockets. And just handkerchiefs and doves.
And doves. That's too funny.
I guess, in conclusion, there's just too many coincidences there. Mm-hmm. Too many, and this was the beginning stages of learning about mind control. And I think my speculation is they did it with drugs first, but then they realized they didn't even really need drugs. I think they learned so much, probably through the drugs and the acid brainwashing and stuff like that. And they realized, oh, wait a minute, it's a lot simpler than what we anticipated. We can just trigger people's emotions.
Yeah, but now they're giving us drugs pharmaceutically.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
That's true.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's 1 in every 4 girls or women is on some type of prescription.
Ugh.
That's fucking insane. That's insane.
Yeah, that is insane.
You know?
Especially we never had anything like that before.
We haven't.
You know?
We haven't. You need this. If people didn't need it 200 years ago, we don't,
Yeah, even I mean, just to go off subject, but even the way what they call anxiety, it's when I was a kid, we didn't call it anxiety. We were either nervous or we were upset about something, but we didn't have anxiety. Yeah. Oh, I'm having anxiety right now. Well, why?
Yeah.
Before a football game, I'd have, I guess, anxiety because I was nervous.
Yeah.
Things like that. But I don't know, just back then we chalked up as being nervous and we got on with our lives.
Yeah, yeah. I think people who have gone through some type of trauma in the past, I know a few people where it is a real problem, but at the same time, it's almost with certain kids, it's a fad, everyone has to have their thing.
I think it's also just an excuse too.
I think a lot of people, 90% of people who say it, I think is, okay, shut up, dude.
Yeah, you don't have anxiety.
You're in a crowd. Everyone gets a little apprehensive when they're in a crowd. I get it, Oh, shit, I'm the only white person here. No, I'm just kidding.
I have anxiety.
I'm just kidding.
That's so
Don't
funny.
cancel me.
I can see you having anxiety at some hip-hop fest, right?
Smoking all this chronic.
Yeah, what is going on everywhere?
Oh, my God.
That's too funny.
I like your hair. I'm just kidding. I'm done.
Is that real rope?
Yeah. Can I touch it? Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. But yeah, man, I mean, definitely recommend those 2 books. There's too many coincidences for it to not be true, man, in my opinion.
And we can keep going down this road of mind control, because I can just keep referring things to you to get deeper and deeper.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because, like, you're talking about, like, doing this at the time through music and whatever, but they've never stopped, and it's still happening in music, in television, and in movies, and in video games, too.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're seeing it all the time now.
Yeah.
They didn't just stop back in the 60s and 70s and go, okay, I guess we're done with the mind control.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's still going on.
Yeah,
it's all still going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have no doubt. I mean, even like there's even speculation that some of these school shooters, or shooters in general, mass shooters, are under mind control drugs. I've heard that conspiracy theory before.
Yeah, a couple of them, I think were taking some type of prescription for whatever by a doctor, but they were under something.
Yeah, but who knows where these... I mean, I described some of these clinics, some of these psych clinics.
Yeah.
Who knows who's running them, dude?
Who knows, yeah.
Could be the fucking CIA. Like, give this fucking little tranny kid who's got anxiety these pills, and we'll send him to therapy, who's this guy, and this guy's a fucking former Nazi's fucking grandson.
Why'd it have to be a tranny kid?
CIA. What?
Why'd it have to be a tranny kid?
Because they're the ones shooting things up lately.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we took a poll...
Just to be culturally...
If we took a poll, normal kids, like, are ones shooting up more than anything.
What, like, on average, who...
If we did a school shooting poll in the last 10 years, it's more normal kids than tranny kids.
I would say so, yeah. I would say in the last couple of years...
It's last couple of years been trannies,
yeah. A lot of trannies.
Yeah, a lot of trannies.
I don't know if that's the culturally appropriate word.
Or non-binaries, whatever you want to call
them.
Yeah,
whatever the proper nomenclature is.
Yeah. We go with whatever it is. We just don't know.
Yeah, we say gay and retarded. We don't care at all. We don't care.
No, but I'll say whatever the updated thing is. I just don't know.
Yeah, I won't.
Really?
No, not until.
So if somebody's like, okay, if you're not trans, I'm non-binary. Okay, I guess you're non-binary. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just.
But don't get mad from that point on.
I'm just gonna be like, no, you're not. You're a guy.
Well, what if they're a non-binary guy?
What do you? They're a guy.
Okay, what do they consider to be a non-binary guy?
I'm going to be like, no, you're a guy. Because that doesn't even make any sense.
I know. Well, hey, tranny doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, none of it makes
sense. Yeah, none of it makes sense. I know.
You know?
I know.
I know. We don't want to go down this road. But, all right, well, that pretty much concludes it.
A good conversation.
Like and subscribe. Check out those 2 books. They're great books. And, if you have any subjects you want us to cover... send it to the page, message us on Intellectual Dummies on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, or comment, and let us know, and we'll see what's up.
Nice. Goodbye.
Cool.